Welcome to Living Simple and Well, the audio diary for the woman who's doing her best to live a meaningful life, one boundary, one deep breath, one messy day at a time. Hosted by a girl just getting by. This podcast is your safe space for raw conversations, real life lessons, and tiny shifts that make a big impact. From navigating complicated relationships and motherhood meltdowns to curating a soft, slow morning routine and showing up for your dreams, we're talking about it all, vulnerably, honestly, without the pressure to have it all figured out. Here, it's not about hustle culture or perfection. It's about coming home to yourself, simplifying the noise, and choosing to live well on your own terms. So pour your coffee, take a walk, or hide in your closet for some peace and quiet. You're safe here. Hey friends, welcome back to Living Simple and Well. I am so glad you're here today. We are talking about something I think we all have wrestled with at some point, and that is control. You know that feeling, right? Like life is happening to you instead of with you? Like no matter how much you plan, you just can't make it go the way you want? I've been there more times than I can count. And I actually want to be really honest with you. This is a pretty vulnerable topic for me. But if there's one thing that I've learned over the past few years, it's that control is mostly an illusion. And yet we chase it like it's the key to happiness. So today we're going to talk about what it really means to let go without actually giving up. I'm going to share some personal stories and practical ways to start releasing the need to control everything in your life. I am back at it with the spooky candle that I raved about in my last episode. It's amazing what $7 at Aldi's will do for you and for your, cozy vibes. Still gloomy here. I think the sun's trying to peek out. So if we get some fluctuations in lighting in here, real life. But we are knee deep in preparations to actually head to Disney in a couple of weeks. We are surprising my daughter with our first trip, her first trip. My husband and I haven't been in, I think, over 10 years at this point. So we are equally excited and big kids about it as well. But getting to witness this as a mom for the first time, seeing it through her eyes and experiencing it, I feel like is going to just be on another level altogether. So if it was up to my husband, he would share all of the videos about, witnessing this through your child's eyes to make me cry. So anyway, but we are in the logistics phase of packing and getting all the coordinated family outfits together and all that fun stuff. So very excited for that coming up. Activities are in full swing. We are busy bees. We had our first, I'll call it a small sickness in our house. Girlfriend got pneumonia last week, and so we are recovering from that. But honestly, she took it all in stride. We had a really restful weekend, and I can't complain this time around. So we will see. Hopefully we are not repeating a pattern, because when we went to the pediatrician, they informed me that she had the exact same pneumonia exactly 1 year prior to within a few days. So last year it followed with whooping cough in November and the flu, which we happily spread around our entire household in January. So here's to hoping that we are not settling in for that same routine. Okay, real talk. One of the biggest lessons I've had to learn about control came when my husband and I were trying to conceive. And let me tell you, I tried to control everything, the calendars, the apps, the routines. I thought if I just do all the right things, it's going to happen exactly when it's supposed to. We've actually been on this journey twice, not once, but twice. It took us 6.5 years to conceive our daughter, and we've been trying for, you guessed it, 6.5 years the second time around. And that makes me kind of feel old because I have an almost 7-year-old. And there's nothing like a biological clock to also start making you try to question everything. I talked about this in the last episode, but I really started to give up control and let it happen when it happens on our 5-year wedding anniversary. I would have thought we would have already had a few kids, the white picket fence, the family dog. We did have 2 precious pups at the time. But honestly, it wasn't happening. And I spent the next year and a half losing 125 pounds and just focusing on my own health and wellness, and was shocked to find out that I was pregnant right before the 4th of July back in 2018. I had to think about that based on when she was born. So we have been at it. When I tell you, I was only a few weeks postpartum, if that. when I just had this wave. I can remember the day like it was yesterday, wash over me as I was laying in bed, probably exhausted, but I knew I wasn't done. And we've always said we wanted, minimum two, but maybe, three kids. And we never not tried, right? And so in the beginning phases of postpartum, I was less intentional with tracking and letting things happen. But in the thick of it, for the past few years, I really started to become very neurotic about it again. And even though I quite literally knew that when I gave up control is when I got pregnant, I found myself in the same chokehold of tracking and being meticulous. And I then started to spiral into, why is this happening again? You know, those people who say it will happen when you stop trying? Well, I don't want to hear I told you so, okay? It didn't stop me on our journey to grow our family, though. Throwing all that logic back out the window to try to track my way to baby number two. Some months I'd get my hopes up only to feel crushed when it didn't work out. And on the outside, I'm sure everyone thought, if she's fine, everything's fine. She's got her miracle baby. But inside, I was so anxious, frustrated, and honestly, a little angry at myself. Like somehow this was my fault again. It was a turning point for me when I realized like the only thing I can actually control is how I show up, how I take care of myself, how I respond, and my mindset about the entire situation. That's it. Everything else completely out of my hands. Do I kind of already know this? Of course, but it doesn't mean I always practice what I preach, friends. And it's also really hard to swallow because our brains like to think control equals safety. And in reality, the tighter we grip, the more stress we get, which is exactly where I ended up. Side note, if you need a little laugh, picture me trying to meditate with the dog eating the laundry and the toddler deciding it's a great time to test gravity against spaghetti. Spoiler, control does not extend to pets and toddlers. Not that I've ever been particularly good at meditating anyway. So let's break this down a bit. Why do we crave control so much? Our brains are literally wired for it. Control equals security, predictability, that safety that I mentioned. It all makes sense, but it sneaks in all sorts of subtle ways. Overplanning, overthinking, my favorite quality, micromanaging outcomes, even criticizing ourselves. And here's the thing, the more we try to control everything, the more life tends to laugh in our face. Like the universe just goes, oh, you want a perfectly color-coded week? Hold my chaos. I want you to notice that most of the stress and frustration from control isn't even about the events themselves. It's about our thoughts and feelings around them. That's the sneaky part. But now the fun part, what actually helps? So these are some things that I actually practice daily that I really do think make a difference, and I want to share them with you. First, I want you to identify what is yours to control. Actions, habits, your mindset, not outcomes or other people. For example, you can send a thoughtful email, but you can't control how it's received. I want you to create healthy routines and rituals. I'm talking morning rituals like journaling, tea, meditation, or even planning your day in a gentle, more flexible way. The goal is structure without perfection. I know I've talked about this in a lot of these episodes, but it really has been a big factor in truly going with the flow of my days, given that I've intentionally designed them to allow me to do so. I want you to reframe uncertainty as opportunity. Instead of seeing things you can't control as scary, try seeing them as a chance to grow. Trying a new business strategy without knowing the result, that's practice. Start tiny. I mean minuscule. Friends, let someone else pick what's for dinner. Delegate a task without micromanaging that person. Sleep in occasionally. It's like training your brain to trust life. I want you to lean on your support system or build one if you haven't established one yet. Talk to a friend, your therapist, get a therapist, your partner maybe. Asking for help isn't weakness. It's literally a form of surrender. I want you to give yourself some reminders. I like repeating, I can only control what I can control. And surrendering does not equal failing. They're short, they're sweet, and there's something that I can repeat to myself, especially in the thick of trying to control situations when I find myself stressed out over something I can't control. And here's the thought. What's one thing you're holding on to that you don't actually need to? Write it down right now. Say it out loud. Let it go just for today. I want you to remember that surrender is not giving up hope. It's choosing peace in the present while still showing up fully for what matters. Here's a few things I want you to take away from this episode today. Start pausing before reacting. Start asking yourself, is this mine to control? Start practicing micro surrenders. Really, really small. Celebrate the things that you can influence. Even letting go just a little bit can make life feel lighter. I still struggle with this every single day. I promised you when I started this podcast, I would come to you as a work in progress and talk about things that are applicable to my current life. And this is a big one. But I notice when I surrender, even for just a moment, my anxiety lifts, my perspective shifts, and life feels softer. And that's the goal, friends, a little softness in the midst of the chaos. And if you're only taking one single thing from today's episode, let it be this. Letting go doesn't mean losing. It means choosing peace. Try one small surrender today. Notice the shift. And if you want, tag me on Instagram or send me a DM at Living Simple and Well. I'd love to celebrate it with you. Next week, we're going to talk about reclaiming space without guilt. It's a good one, so stay tuned. Until then, please remember, surrender is strength, chaos is temporary, and you're doing better than you think. I'll see you next week, friends.